the style and the pacing and the sort of natural story evolution, and it wasn't forced. It was sort of haphazard, and one thing sort of led to another. And especially to me, it was the animation style, because when Peter and I again started drawing the comics, it was very organic, sort of underground comic kind of feel. It wasn't very polished.
Very much so, yeah.
Thanks. And I think that they really, the whole animation team just really nailed it so beautifully. You feel the weight. It's not perfect. It's imperfect, but it's perfectly imperfect.
Hi, Kevin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. This is a very exciting day, very exciting week.
Thank you for sharing your time with me on the Movie Podcast. I have to start off by saying you've been a big part of my childhood.
Well, thank you. And it's, and I thank you for all the support, and your parents, especially probably for all the turtles.
Definitely my parents. My mom used to tell me that she had Shredder working at work, and one day she brought me to work and she's like, this is Shredder. I'm like, where's Shredder? Because I was such a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. She showed me this Shredder, and this is, I'm going to say, like mid-90s, right? And I was so let down. But that's just I can't believe I'm interviewing you here now, and it's just I get to share the story with you.
Well, that's funny, because I always, the true origin of the Shredder was actually one of those cheese shredders that I was drying off while we were doing dishes. Pete and I were talking about developing the bad guy for the original Turtles, and it really, the origin of the Shredder is from a cheese grater. So that was the original Shredder.
It makes sense. The Turtles have had such an evolution over the years across film, across TV, comic books. What was it about Mutant Mayhem that made you go, they got it?
There was so many elements. I feel that, the heart and soul that Peter and I put into the original creation of the Turtles, which was kind of this adoptive family, this family aspect where, against all the odds and everything, that was sort of against them, to still try to rise up and do the right thing and still maintain that family essence. But it was the style and the pacing and the sort of natural story evolution, and it wasn't forced. It was sort of haphazard, and one thing sort of led to another. And especially to me, it was the animation style, because when Peter and I again started drawing the comics, it was very organic, sort of underground comic kind of feel. It wasn't very polished.
Very much so, yeah.
Thanks. And I think that they really, the whole animation team just really nailed it so beautifully. You feel the weight. It's not perfect. It's imperfect, but it's perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, no, definitely. It has that grassroots feeling that was original to what you created when you came out with the comics. That's what I got the vibe from. Like, whoa, they really did something different, and they're doing it different with the animation style.
Yeah, I think Jeff Rowe put it really well, and he said we wanted it to look like it was drawn by teenagers. And it's just great, because that's practically what we were when we were doing it. So yeah, it was very, very well done. Very, very, very.
No, I think it just matched your style, and on screen it looks beautiful. It's vividly beautiful. Merchandise has always been part of the Turtles phenomenon. Is there any favorite or surprising piece of TMNT merchandise you've come across in the franchise's history?
There's so many wonderful things, and I was even growing up as a child, I loved toys and action figures and things like that genre. Would drove my parents completely nuts trying to collect every single Star Wars figure that came out and so on and so on. So I really loved the toys, and Playmates as the original group that put together that fantastic first line of toys, and then holy smokes, many, many, many years of toys right up until the new Mutant Mayhem toys. Though the toys have always been partial to that, but I still have my feet firmly planted in the comics, which I love. And that's to me, it's like keeps me in touch with the heart and soul of the original grassroots of the Turtles. But man, I love it. This is a t-shirt, a shirt that actually fits me and is really comfortable that they put out. But I do. I try to collect every bit of Turtle merchandise I can. They're fantastic.
Yeah, because when I think about the Turtles, I grew up with the animation and then the live action. I didn't know about the comics until later on in my teenage years. And I was just shocked, like, whoa, it's such a more mature looking turtle than when I was so used to. Do you ever feel like that's, in terms of where the Turtles go, do you ever want a more mature themed version of these guys on screen?
That's a great question, because it's what's funny is, when even at the height of the comic books, we might have sold maybe 100,000 copies. Then along comes the animation and the toys, and suddenly we're reaching millions and also then a global audience. So most people are introduced to it that way. But I think when they were maybe growing out of it, the toys and the animation, a lot of them discovered the original comic books were originally written for ourselves, so they're a bit more edgy and written for an older audience. And I feel like we've been lucky to have had this multiverse throughout, where we've had the original black and white comic books for our older audience, the original audience. We've had the animation and the toys for that, younger up and coming audience, and then this universe with the toys, like the first, some of the early live action movies and things seem to hit that middle ground between both, having sort of a leg in both. So, it's I think there's room for all audiences. Even the comics I'm working on now, the current IDW universe, I call it, is with books like The Last Ronin. It's more intended for that older audience. So we've got something for everyone, so to speak.
No, definitely. And I really want to dive into that. But again, thank you, Kevin, for being part of the Movie Podcast. I hope to have a conversation with you in the future, and we can have more of a long form conversation on our show.
Anytime. Would look forward. Yeah, very much like that. Thank you.